Well, hello, lovely YouTube community. I hope you're all enjoying some happy days. Today, I have for you a cold case that was finally solved this year. The disappearance of American teen Brittanee Drexel. This case was covered vastly by the media, and as a true crime follower myself, for years I had been awaiting for the truth to come out and justice to be made. And it finally happened, so it is with great excitement that I am telling you now this story. All of what I'm going to say, it's information collected from the internet and press documents. I mean no disrespect to anybody that I will mention today. And with that being said, let's start this. Brittanee Marie Drexel was born on the 7th of October, 1991, in Rochester, New York. Her parents, Dawn and John, loved her from the start with all their hearts, but they were both very young when they had her. And soon her father moved away to Florida and left his recently made family behind. But things were still bright for Brittanee and Dawn. She found love again, this time in the arms of Chad Drexel, a former military man who stepped into the father role from moment one. He adopted Brittanee, giving her his last name, and he and Dawn had two more lovely children. They all lived in Chile, a Rochester suburb. Life was good. During her school years, Brittanee was like any other teenager. She had good grades, loved sports, especially soccer, and had a bunch of friends who she liked to hang with at all times. When she was 15, she met John Grieco, another teenager from her school, and they fell madly in love like only teenagers can. Love burns bright at this age, but it is hard to keep things mellow when you're trying to find out who you are. And Brittanee and John had many arguments. They were known to be one of those on and off couples. The constant fighting, added to the fact that Chad, who she knew as her father, and her mom were getting a divorce, set Brittanee into a spiral of negativity and bad behavior. She had started skipping school, drinking, and just being a little bit more rebellious than her mom could stand. She even had got a hold of her pain medications and had overdosed a couple times on them. So, spring break 2009 came. It is tradition for high school Rochester kids to spend this short vacation on Myrtle Beach, a place well known for its nightlife and for being very touristic. Brittanee was dying to go. This was the first time she had been invited over by some older high school friends of her. But the excitement was cut short when her mom refused to let her go on the trip.
She says, "Mom, can I go to Myrtle Beach?" And I told her no. And she goes, "Why?" And I said, "Brittanee, because first of all, I don't know the people that you're going with." I said, "There's no parents." And I said, something's going to happen.
Brittanee lost it and left the room in anger. She asked her boyfriend John to pick her up and take her to a friend's house, which he did. After things had chilled a little bit, she called her mom, apologized for her behavior, and one more time she asked if she could go to Myrtle Beach. But again, her mom said a big no. She was too scared for what could happen to her daughter, being so far away from home and unsupervised, and she was right to be. So she told her mom, "What if I stay at a friend's here in Rochester instead?" Her mom liked that idea better and asked to speak with a grown-up to make sure everything was fine with Brittanee staying over for the weekend. After crossing some words with whom she thought was a parent, she agreed and let Brittanee stay there. Most people, if not everybody, have disobeyed their parents at some point, putting ourselves in risky situations. And even though we get away with it in many occasions, the risk is still there. So, the 22nd of April 2009, Brittanee took off with 3 other girlfriends in a car, ready to make the close to 14-hour trips down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The girls arrived fine at their destination and things seemed to be going well. Even though Brittanee had asked her boyfriend John to go with her, he couldn't because he had to work, but encouraged her to go, enjoy herself, and forget about the school and problems for the weekend. It was just a weekend. What could happen, right? Brittanee kept in touch with him during the whole trip, almost at all moments. At the same time, she was also calling her mom here and there to let her know things were fine. She would lie saying that they were watching movies and doing other boring teenager stuff. Meanwhile, things were everything but boring at Myrtle Beach. The parties were big, and Brittanee seemed to be having the time of her life, at least during the first day. But sooner than later, things took a grimmer turn. Brittanee was complaining to her boyfriend that she didn't like the environment she was in. People had started to do many drugs and get a little bit more crazy than what she liked. Brittanee was not keen on drugs or even drinking to that excess. On her last day, she had had enough. She had been pretty much all the time talking with John about how uncomfortable she was and how much she wanted to return to Rochester. John kept encouraging her to enjoy herself. It was her last day, for God's sake. She had gotten away with it and she should be happy about it. So to hype herself up, Brittanee decided to meet with her friend Peter. This guy would be a DJ at parties in Rochester, and Brittanee had known him for a long time. She let her boyfriend John know that she was going to meet with Peter, and this gave him a peace of mind since he knew they were close friends and thought that he would take care of his distressed girlfriend.
Peter Brozowitz was a kid who I didn't know personally, but Brittanee did. I assumed, being a good friend to Brittanee, that he would watch over her.
At 8 p.m. on the 25th of April, Brittanee left her hotel to walk 1.5 miles to the Blue Water Resort, where her friend Peter was staying. CCTV footage captured Brittanee walking down a main avenue and then into the Blue Water Resort, onto his friend's room. But once she was there, Brittanee had a problem. And don't quote me here because different sources have different versions of which the problem was. We're going to stick with the one that says that Brittanee had left her hotel, the Bar Harbor Resort, in a pair of shorts that belonged to one of her girlfriends. Once Brittanee had arrived to her destination, this friend wrote her a very upset text asking her for her shorts back because she wanted to wear them for the night. So Brittanee leaves the Blue Water very pissed, heading back to her place to handle the shorts. During this trip, she's texting with John, her boyfriend, venting about how mad she was over this stupid situation, when all of a sudden Brittanee's text stopped. John couldn't get her to reply anymore, even after he told her that he was going to contact her mom and tell her the whole truth. Even then, he couldn't get any reply from Brittanee. So, call it God instinct, but John knew something was bad right away. It was completely out of character for Brittanee not to answer. 10 minutes was one thing, but half an hour? So he got in contact with some other people that were also at Middle Beach, but none seemed to know where Brittanee had gone. That same night, John called Brittanee's parents and told them that she was missing. And well, at first, her mom was enraged, of course, as any other mother would be, crazy over the fact that her daughter had disobeyed her. But anger quickly turned into fear and desire of finding her. On the morning, Brittanee's mom, John, her boyfriend, and her grandparents took off to Middle Beach, while Chad Drexel, the father, stayed in Rochester with Brittanee's younger siblings. Once in Middle Beach, the search was frantic. They got in contact with the authorities, who started their own investigation. The family went to all places Brittanee had been at. They asked for any clue, any hint, any recording, whatever they could provide to aim this search. The police got a hold of the CCTV from the hotel and the avenue. They could see her walking to and entering the Blue Water Resort. They also could see her leave just a few moments after her arrival. But the other avenue camera never captured her again. In those few meters that separated one camera from the other, something had happened to Brittanee and she had vanished. To keep the search going, the authorities quickly contacted Brittanee's phone company to track down her cell phone's location. With the provided info, they could see the different towers where the signal had pinged every time Brittanee received a phone call from her frantic friends and family that were looking for her. These pins showed her phone traveling at a fast speed on a highway heading south towards Georgetown County. This was a non-touristic area, and they knew there was nothing for Brittanee to be doing there. If she had gone to that place, it couldn't have been willingly. Her cell phone last been in a remote boat landing area near the South Santee River. This place was densely vegetated, full of wildlife and other dangers that made the access there very complicated. Even though the authorities conducted an extensive search in which they invested a lot of resources, They couldn't find any evidence of Brittanee's presence there, and the search was called off after a couple of weeks. After that, there was little to no movement on the case for years. Even with Brittanee's family, great efforts, the rewards and all, no clues came. Police kept indeed investigating, but no developments were made public until 2016, when it was announced that a prison inmate had told them that Brittanee had been abducted, killed, and fed to alligators. FBI agent Garrick Munoz testified that earlier that year, Taquan Brown, an inmate who had begun serving a 25-year sentence for manslaughter, told them that in 2009, shortly after Brittanee disappeared, he had gone to visit his acquaintance, Timothy Dashawn Taylor, another South Carolina inmate then serving time in a state prison on an unrelated charge. As he walked through the house, Brown had told Agent Munoz he saw Taylor abusing Brittanee with others present. He continued to the backyard where he found Taylor's father, and as they talked, Brittanee ran from the house but was soon recaptured. Brown then said he saw Taylor pistol whip Brittanee before taking her back inside. He then heard 2 gunshots, which he assumed were the sounds of the teenager being killed. Brown also claimed to have seen a wrapped body being removed from the house and dumped in one of the many alligator ponds in the area. According to Munoz and other FBI agents, this statement was partially corroborated by information received from another informant who was not identified but was described as having been incarcerated at the Georgetown County Jail at the time he had talked to the authorities. According to the second inmate, Taylor had picked up Brittanee in Middle Beach and taken her to George County, where he showed her off to friends and tried to sell her to them for trafficking purposes. Brown said that when the case drew heavy media attention, Taylor decided to kill Brittanee to avoid an arrest. But as promising as these leads were, at the end, nothing came from there. Taylor's lawyer called the new charge a squeeze, based on nothing more than the statement of 2 jailed informants. His mother called them crazy since she believed that her son and husband could never commit such crime. You have to imagine how hard it must have been for Brittanee's family to think that their baby had been fed to alligators. But apparently the whole story was made up and had not an inch of truth to it. Brittanee's case was still cold but vivid for so many. Personally, I had followed the case since it was aired in Investigation Discovery many years ago. This girl's bright smile was hard to forget, and the South Carolina police departments would agree on that. Many saying that this case was the one that would be always in their minds. It was to everybody's shock that in early May 2022, Raymond Moody, a 62-year-old registered sex offender, turned himself in to the Georgetown County Sheriff's Office on the basis of an obstruction of justice charge. Moody's name was not new to the police. They had been considering him a person of interest in Brittanee's disappearance as early as 2012. They just didn't have any evidence to go forward with these claims. So after turning himself in, Moody confessed to Brittanee's crime on May 4th and provided a potential location of remains. I don't really have information on how this confession was obtained, but I bet that after having Moody in the interrogation room, they had the opportunity to question him about his responsibility on Brittanee's case. That's my bet. So, over the next 3 days, the FBI excavated the area pointed by Moody, and by May 11th, human remains were located, buried in the woods of a gated private drive outside Georgetown, about 4 feet into the ground, and they were identified as Brittanee's remains through DNA and dental records on May 15. This area was roughly 8 miles away from the Sunset Lodge apartments where Moody had been living at the time of the crime. The arrest warrant for Moody alleged Brittanee had been strangled and then buried by the morning of April 26, 2009, only hours after being kidnapped from the street. Georgetown County Sheriff's Office, along with Brittanee's family, made the information public on May 16, 2022, along with the announcement of Moody's arrest. Moody was arrested again and charged with murder, kidnapping, and first-degree criminal sexual misconduct, all alleged to have occurred on the day Brittanee disappeared. The charges placed upon Moody are currently death penalty eligible. So that's it, case closed. And as sad and grim as this whole story is, nobody can disagree on the fact that the truth will finally bring some closure to Brittanee's friends and family. Hopefully her memory will live on forever and her story will keep ringing into others' minds, reminding them of the danger this world holds. For you, thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you on the next one.